button.
All right, welcome to the Twitch cast, April 26th, episode 17, I think.
Episode 17. That sounds so good. Makes us sound professional.
Have the dogs are my audience for the day. They're all surrounding me, just waiting for me to get done so that they can go outside. They are my only roommates now, as I've lost one. Lost one in the battle.
You drove Stoney away. You drove him away, J-Mac. He just wanted to be your friend.
He had to do some work out of town and said, happy trails. Got to get on down the road.
He'll hit the next Airbnb.
ggCircuit land this week.
Oh, man. We got a lot to talk about. Big weekend down in South America and big stuff coming up this week. And, man, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Just a cool, as we're in our playful banter section, just kind of a fun, cool story. But I may have mentioned this before, but, you know, in a really weird way, we met a really cool guy from PlayStation. His name is Jerry Jessup, and I've had dinner with Jerry a couple times. I didn't think he was real when I was first told about him from a friend of ours, and Mike Sheets over there at Ovation said, I know a guy at Sony. And when he introduced us, you know, I thought, well, who knows if he really knows him, but he did know him. And Jerry's really been kind to eBash. He visited and was upset that we didn't have very much Sony presence, not much PlayStation presence in our store. So he sent us 26 PlayStation 4s to distribute between our stores. And then I reached out to him this spring and said, got a lot of shows coming up this summer. eBash is going to be at Planet Comic Con in Kansas City, Missouri. 60,000 attendees. Then we're going to be at Indie PopCon in June, which will have 30,000 attendees, and then Gen Con in August with 65 or 70,000 probably this year. And on top of that, our racing simulators, we want to upgrade to PlayStation 4s that we run out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I just said, Jerry, can I borrow some more PlayStation 4s? And he said, how many? And I said, well, my utopia would be about 56. I just said, this many for racing, this many for all these shows. He said, okay, no problem, you got them. And then he sent an email and said, hey, by the way, would you like to have your logo ingrained on a controller? And I thought, well, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? Like, if you're no, would somebody say no to that? So Dustin, our graphics guy, sent a PSD file over to them, and then they sent back some mock-ups of it. I don't know if you have a picture to show everybody, J-Mac.
I didn't, but I just pulled it up while you were talking.
Okay. You know, so it's just pretty unique situation where we're going to use these at our shows all year and have the eBash Video Game Center's logo on the controller, laser etched in the, I think they call it the touchpad. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
It actually is a touchpad. I know it's used in some of the games. You can actually put your finger on it and control things. But what a cool, like, relationship, you know, unique time of life type of thing. But then, you know, he dropped the bomb on me after that. Like, I thought he was just doing all this as a huge favor, just being a nice guy. But he has some other playing up his sleeves besides just helping me out this summer, because he said, yeah, I've got a pretty big meeting with our CEO Sean and our senior vice presidents, and I'm going to be using this eBash mock-up controller as part of the presentation. And so then I Googled it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he actually is. I mean, I know that he's a senior vice president at PlayStation, but when he talks about meeting with Sean, and we looked him up on the internet. If you want to Google him, if you Google CEO PlayStation Sean, you'll find that he is the CEO of PlayStation. So just really cool. I wish I could be there in that meeting and figure out what they're all talking about. You know, it's one of those type of things where your ears are burning. You know, somebody's talking about you. All good things, I'm sure. But anyway, so that's just in the life and times of eBash and ggCircuit and everything we have going on. You know, there's value into longevity, you know, sticking it out and being in the game this long and surviving this many years and sticking with our original plan. You know, I think the end is coming. Not the end, but I guess the goal.
The flourish.
The goal, our desires, you know, things are just looking up day by day and week by week with everything that we've got going on. So just fun and exciting times. All right, let's jump into new center, existing center question of the week. This is not necessarily from somebody that I've been consulting with lately. Interestingly enough, I have 3 consulting appointments this week. So again, as I always tell you, the industry's picking up week after week, getting busier and busier. But this one's kind of hitting close to home at eBash as we hire some new community managers and we start working on some tournaments. But what's a good model for running tournaments at a video game center? I think this is very, very relevant today with esports being so predominant in the news and everything that you read. Everybody, I feel like, thinks they can make a lot of money running tournaments, or they think tournaments are the key to happiness. And we love tournaments, and I run lots and lots and lots of tournaments. But I want to talk about it a little bit. Let's just start first by dismissing some myths. So just first and foremost, just get it out of your mind. No, there are not companies that just want to give you cash to put their name on your tournament. That is zero ever. Like, a lot of people think that because they watch these $50,000 tournaments and they see these sponsors' names on the stream and on the stage and everywhere else. And those companies do not want to hand you in your little store $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to have their name on your tournament, period. Just get that out of your head. That's not an option. You'll just be disappointed chasing those things down. Especially don't try to start off right away in that mode. Like, if you've never ran a tournament before, if you've not been around for years and years, if you don't have any successes under your belt, nobody's going to hand you money to sponsor your tournament. So you've got to run your tournament. You've got to be self-sufficient. You've got to run it with the funds inside of your business. Second thing is, no matter how vocal a few players are, that doesn't mean that there's actually 500 people that want to host an infamous tournament. I'm using that specifically because we did this. I don't know if you remember that J-Mac and Carmel store. The GameStop guys came to us and they're like, Infamous is a new fighting game coming out and it's going to be huge. And so we want to sponsor this big tournament and we want to have you guys host this big tournament. We think there's going to be like 300 or 400 players show up. We want you to buy these 2 fight sticks as prizes and we'll send all these players to your store to play. And I'll never forget this, but 8 players showed up and we gave away something crazy like $400 worth of prizes to 8 players, and we paid for most of it ourselves. It was a horrible, horrible experience.
I remember even doing our own promotion. I went store to store to like give out flyers and that kind of stuff. These supposed GameStops that had huge fighting communities and that kind of stuff. Huge fighting
communities, right. Chances are, if somebody's super vocal about something, it's probably just them or them and their buddies. And then when it comes time to speak now or forever hold your peace, they just hold their peace and stay at home on their couches. So don't just take a few vocal players telling you what's going on, especially if they're not regulars, if you don't know them. The other thing too is that the big myth that a lot of people think is like, I'm going to run these tournaments and that's going to bring people in my store and create more local players. That's not really true either. Depending on the type of tournament you have, that can benefit that. And we'll talk about it in a minute, but if you're going to have a $500,000, $2,000 tournament, you're going to get out of your area teams, travel in to try to win that money, and then they're not going to stay at your store. They're not because they don't like it. They just don't live by you. So bringing in 20 teams to your store for a weekend is great. And again, I love it, and I'm going to tell you about how we do it to make it worth our while. But it's not going to create your regular customers. So let's talk about what to actually expect. Okay. So one of the things that you've got to be prepared for is that tournaments for games start strong always, and then they lose interest. So you can imagine your first announced event for something coming up new. Let's see, Overwatch is coming out. So let's say you announce an Overwatch tournament. First tournament's going to get a lot of buzz. It's brand new. There's not going to be a lot of people good at it yet, or a lot of people think they have a chance, and they're going to show up, pay you $50, $100. Even if it's free, if you don't charge them, they're going to show up. If they lose, they're probably not going to keep coming back to your tournaments if they keep losing. So tournament pools are always going to be growing smaller and smaller the longer the game's out. When the game first comes out, that's your best bet of getting a lot of players in. Keep that in mind. You're not going to always grow your number of players for an event like a tournament for a certain game. Tournaments are negative experiences for most of the teams. I don't know why most people don't think about this, but if you have 16 teams come into your store for a tournament, and let's say you pay out first, second, and third place prizes, that means you just brought in 16 teams. 13 of them went away losers with nothing. 0, they paid in money into your pool, and they took home nothing. So what do you think their in their mind, they're going to associate with your brand and your store is a negative experience. I mean, you've got to be very careful that you just try to give those players more than just a single elimination bracket or a double elimination bracket, lose twice, go home type of thing. Like, while you can say they're in it for the competition and they like to do that, one thing I always equate it to is city golf tournaments and things. Like, you may suck at golf, but when you go out, you get to play 18 holes. Like, it's not like you went out and, I don't know if there's such a thing, but is there an elimination golf tournament where everybody starts on the first hole and half the people after the first hole that lost are out and they're like, dang, I only got to play one hole of golf today. Darn, I can't wait to hand you $50 and come back, in a month and play again. Like, it's really weird to think about, but none of us really, we always focus on the teams that win. Well, of course they're happy. They won money, like, what are you going to do with those other 13 teams? And, if it's a team of 4 or 5 players, you're talking 60, 70, 80 players. Maybe their first and last experience in your store is walking in the door, handing you money and getting their butt handed to them. The other thing is tournaments displace regular customers. So some of these guys I'm talking to is smaller stores. They really want to get into esports, and if you've only got 20 or 30 stations, you cannot have a big tournament at your store and risk displacing normal customers. It's just like when I tell people don't open a store with less than 40 or 50 stations. If on a Saturday or a Friday when you're really busy and you need to be full, you got to have open seats. If a player's walking in and they're ready to hand you $20 to sit down for a few hours and play some League of Legends or whatever, and your store's full of players in a tournament, they're probably not going to come back. They're just going to know that place is small. They don't have enough seats. It's really busy. I don't really want to go there. It's one of the reasons why eBash stores have always been so big. Every time we've done them, every time we recommend and consult with other companies, we always recommend at least 40 stations, if not 50 or 60 to start with the intentions of even adding more after that. Our stores are 100 stations plus. We know that on our Fridays and Saturdays, we just had 2 really slow lock-ins this past weekend with 25 or 30 players at each one of them. Those are super small and slow for us. So normally we'll do 60, 70, 80 players on a Friday night and another 60, 70, 80 players on a Saturday night. If we didn't have that many seats, there'd be money that we left on the street we didn't bring in the store. Now, let's talk about how to do it right. So part of it is, number one, plan it way ahead. Don't just, plan it on a whim a week out and think that you're going to pump it with Facebook ads and get a bunch of teams and players to show up. Plan it way ahead. Try to start with games and players that you already have in your community. So, if you've got a big group of League of Legends players at your store, don't expect to have a successful Dota tournament because you just don't have any regulars that will fill in a team or two to kind of get the thing started. So pick a game you've already got that you've got a good following for and start it small. I'll use a really cool example of when Gears of War came out. And this is, again, another way to really do some good cross-promotion is work with your local GameStops or game stores in your area. They always have people walking in the door asking them for tournaments. And those stores don't run tournaments. Every now and then they'll run like a launch tournament while you're waiting to pick up the game at midnight. And then people just always go back there and assume for some reason that GameStop knows how to do tournaments or they'll always run tournaments. So we went to GameStop and we handed out these little cards and we gave GameStop 16 cards. And we said, the first 16 players to go pick up one of these cards were 16 teams that got to play in the first Gears of War tournament we ever ran for a $500 prize. So we didn't charge anything. We just had them go to the GameStops and pick up a card. We announced it. The 16 cards were gone maybe in, I don't remember. It was super fast. I feel like a day or two. And then our first event had 16 teams show up at it for $500. And our next one we announced had a small fee, 40 or 50 bucks for a team, but it had a $1,000 pool and it sold out 32 teams. So we started small. We started it with, a more casual feel, and we didn't go for a $5,000 or $10,000 tournament. You got to remember, you're going to displace your local customers if you try to do these bigger tournaments. They're not going to want to play because out-of-town teams will come in and play if there's a lot more money to be won. So plan it ahead. Plan it local, use your local community, and don't make that your core business. I can't think of anybody that's done that successfully in a video game center yet is like not focusing on anything except for esports. It just leaves you too much downtime in between events, and esports events are a lot of work. So 3 or 4 people have to work on putting together a good esports tournament. And the rewards for that are good. You get a lot of publicity. You might have some followers on your Twitch stream. You can build up some regular tournament attendees so that when you announce your next Call of Duty tournament, the same teams that have somewhat success may keep coming back to it. But just keep it local if you can. That's what our advantage is video game centers. We're not traveling around the world in a semi, setting up in these giant convention halls, trying to hold $25,000 or $50,000 tournaments. So don't try to be like them. Try to cater to those in your immediate area and give them that experience. That's something they want to do, but figure out a way to let them play all 18 holes. So, do pool play if you can. Hold the number of teams a little lower so you can have some more matches play best 2 out of 3 instead of 1 game in the brackets or something. Just give them more and give them a better experience, and honestly try to keep the prizes down. The higher the prizes get, the more likely you'll have ringer teams come in, take all the money and leave, and then all your local players are just they're just sad and they just won't participate anymore, and they'll have that negative experience. So,
well, I think you've mentioned before, this is something that other game center owners have voiced concern over when we do our tournaments, is that the people from 2 towns away or the next closest city will come play because they know they can win or they know they can be up there, and then we never see them again. So one of the things that we're doing ggCircuit wise, or we're going to do in the future, is we have more tournaments, and that part of the ggCircuit stuff ramps back up, is that we'll require a minimum amount of coins for local customers that, if they have this amount of coins and they can participate in the tournament, that way we know that we're helping build that community and get prizes to those loyal customers.
Right. I'd rather give out $500 to all my regulars for an event than I would give out $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 to teams from outside of the area that we probably won't see again. So, it's funny, but, I had a center ask me about WANdemonium in North America. Do the players need to be at the center to play? And, again, I'm like, I don't really want to focus on the esports side as much as the LAN center, the video game center side, the local aspect of it. Like, of course we want the players to be present to win or present to play. That's the whole point of us running our stores, is that we want people to show up at our stores and participate in these events. Otherwise we're just another game battles or, all these other online systems that are out there today where you can play from home. That's not the purpose at all. The purpose is 4 players lined up side by side, all seeing each other's screens and communicating in a way you can't communicate with a headset and a mic, from 5 states away over the internet.
Right.
All right, let's jump into it's kind of a good segue into some of our ggCircuit updates. So just a quick review of this past weekend. Do you have those numbers in front of you, J-Mac? I was going to go through those numbers. Why don't you look those up for a little bit, that I posted in the Facebook group of the attendees at the Peru nVidia event. So we've been working for a while on the Peru nVidia concept down there. nVidia is interested in getting into South America, and they've specifically targeted Peru with us to try to get into LAN centers. It's estimated that there's between 5,000 and 10,000, I'm going to call them cyber cafes in Peru. So get your internet access, work on your office documents, print, burn CDs, that type of environment. But a lot of them are starting to do gaming, especially games that are free to play, that centers don't have to spend money on license keys and things. So this has been in process for probably 4 or 5 months, and we finally have built up to a pretty decent participation rate. And I was pretty happy with those numbers from this past weekend. J-Mac, did you find those?
Which section would you like me to show?
Well, just to give us the totals, okay. So like the total number of players, not by center or anything, but just how many players played at those centers, how many played Dota matches, and those sort of things.
I'm going to give you just the number of gamers, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, it's up. So the total number of players from Peru this past weekend was over 500, with the top 3 centers, Game Over Montserrat, Zona Zero, and NickelNet, all greater than 75 players. Looking at number of total gamers that played Dota was about half that, close to about 250. Let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, that's really, really good, because obviously it's just not generic LAN center traffic, like it was specifically players playing in the event.
Right, and that's an important factor too, ggCircuit wise, because that's over 200 players that took the time to get into their ggCircuit profile, to connect there,
Yep.
Which a lot of LAN center owners complain about, video game center complain about, but it's a good thing and a bad thing, because we have to verify these accounts somehow,
Right.
And we don't create Dota, we don't create League of Legends. It's the best way that we know how to make sure that these accounts are legit.
Right.
From our system's point of view.
Right. So luckily from this weekend, I think we're going to show nVidia some pretty good numbers. And not only nVidia, but there's some other sponsors that are interested in getting involved in the same sort of event. So just to recap it, for everybody not in Peru, the way the event worked was from noon on Friday until midnight on Sunday, it was a competition to see who could get the highest KDA score in their best 3 games over the weekend in just Peru. And so all these gamers could just show up and play. It was in ranked play only, so you couldn't get into private matches or custom matches and cheat, but you had to play ranked matches. And let's say you played 10 matches. We took your top 3 KDA scores from those, added them together, and that was your score in the contest over the weekend. And so centers didn't have to do any extra work. It was no work for the centers at all. They could talk about it, point the players in the right direction, but they didn't have to report scores. It's all automatically tracked once the players made their account and linked their Steam. They just played Dota matches like normal, and it encouraged the players to keep trying all weekend, so you could always get a better score. So if you had a game that had a better KDA than one of your top 3 previously, it replaced your lowest score and your score would go up. The other thing we did was we gave centers a little bit of an objective. So we paid out $100 via PayPal to the top center that had the most players who qualified by playing at least 3 ranked games in Dota 2. And it was funny to watch, but the first night, Friday night, it was, I don't think anybody had over 10, that had played their 3 ranked matches. And there were some of them didn't have their Steam profiles public, and some of them didn't have the right Steam account linked, and some other things. But then I watched on Saturday, that number started to grow. And then by Sunday, it was super competitive. The top 3 centers were neck and neck throughout the day Sunday. So it was, 15 players each, 16 players each, 17 players each, 18 players each that had gotten their 3 ranked game minimum played to be on that list. And in the end, it ended up being, I think less than 10 between the top 3 or 4 centers playing for that $100 PayPal prize. So it's those sort of events that I love, because again, it's not necessarily required to have a team. Even though you're playing a team game, you don't have to have a team to play. You don't have to connect. You don't have to do any kind of manual work. There's no head-to-head incentives or regulations or stipulations. Like, you don't have to form a team and challenge a team and those sort of things. So everybody can get involved very easily at LAN centers and video game centers doing this. Now, let's lead that right into this upcoming WANdemonium weekend, because there's a slight change for South America because of this exact same problem. So WANdemonium, the concept is we want to have in one weekend multiple games that centers play against each other to find who the best well-rounded center is in each of the regions of the world. So we don't want it to just be the best League of Legends players or the best MOBA players or the best first-person shooter players. We want to try to find the centers with the best well-rounded group of players. But we ran into a problem in South America that even in South America, and we call it Latin America or South America, Mexico, places like Peru and Argentina and Ecuador and some of those, and Brazil, there's even 3 different sets of servers for League of Legends and other games. So it's even impossible for those centers to play each other head to head. So as we started thinking about it, we're like, let's use this Peru WANdemonium or Peru nVidia event as an idea for WANdemonium this weekend in South America. So now, as we lead into this WANdemonium there and then into the next season, it's the same concept moving forward. So now we're going to allow each center to be represented by their best 5 Smite players, their best 5 Dota 2 players, their best 5 League of Legends players in South America for this weekend's WANdemonium. So players just play like normal. They don't have to play against each other. They just play match-made games, and again, no private, no custom-made games, so you can't cheat, but you just play your games like normal, and your ggCircuit coins or points that you get from that will be your score, and your top 3 games that you play this weekend will make up your score for your center. And the center will be able to score their top 5 in each of those games, and that's how the contest is going to run this weekend. So again, it'll give these moving leaderboards that are obtainable any time of the weekend people want to join. So, if you show up on Saturday afternoon, you get 3 matches in, you can be right up in the top again. It's not all about no-lifing it, who can play the most, who spins the most in the center wins the most. It's not pay to win. This is truly skill-based competitions. And your best players represent the centers, and the best centers are the ones that have the best players. So it's a really kind of unique thing that we've just kind of started. And as we get into WANdemonium in South America, and then the season for all regions of the world next week, everybody's going to start realizing how, I think, exciting this new scoring system is going to be week after week. So it'll really give your players something to shoot for. It won't handicap those that can't make it in all week, but it'll give the ones that come in earlier in the week a chance to always better their score. There's always a chance to raise the bar on your score throughout the week. So I'm super excited.
WANdemonium sponsor?
WANdemonium, we got all kinds of sponsors. So, season we do. WANdemonium North America obviously is our biggest market, thanks to Balls sponsoring WANdemonium in North America. So I believe we have 11 centers jumping into the fray this weekend. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sunday. There'll be 4 different games played in North America. Those will all be bracketed head-to-head events with the center's best players representing them. And again, sponsored by Balls. We'll keep the gamers going all weekend long for WANdemonium with balls given out. Each of the centers are going to give them out differently. So I've noticed some of them are rewarding their centers or their players that win with free balls. Some of them will just hand them out to the teams as they play to keep them going. And again, we'll want to make sure and get some pictures and give some of those shout outs to Balls all weekend in North America. So Europe's going to be competing. I know the Elite Centers, Escape Gaming, I think maybe Good Game, and I think Challenge Arena from the Middle East is joining in with those guys in the Europe brackets. So there'll be a nice big set of brackets going on there and in North America. And then in South America, we'll have the WANdemonium going, but it'll be more of a weekend-long competition with individual players playing, because we cannot mix all those different servers together. So it's this weekend, Friday through Sunday, and then Monday morning, boom, season 5, J-Mac. Are you pumped? I mean, this is a pretty different season.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm in the thick of getting it all together, so I'm pumped.
Right, so J-Mac and I have been through 4 seasons. The concept was started 4 seasons ago. Geez, when did our first season start? Was it in December of 2014? Did we start it that long ago?
I feel like it was the spring 2014, because we did spring, we did summer, we skipped fall, we did winter, we did spring.
I think we did winter, spring, and skipped summer. I think we might have started in 2014, but obviously it's massive now compared to then. I mean, what are we at, 105 or 106 centers in ggCircuit now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The number just keeps growing. Fun kind of PA, public announcement, but tomorrow morning when everybody wakes up, if you go to www.ggcircuit.com or stats.ggcircuit.com, you're going to go to the same spot. That goes live tomorrow, which is Wednesday, April the 27th in the morning. So that's a big thing we've been working on for gee whiz 7 or 8 months, I think, J-Mac, to get all that together. So everybody will head to that one new site tomorrow morning, and it'll show you how many live gamers there are. 136,000, 135,000 active gamers.
133, almost 134.
So it's really cool. It's getting bigger and bigger. A lot more sponsors, a lot of other people getting involved. Reminder for sponsors: moving hazard keys, free. Again, I don't know. I think the players just don't know. Like, I think that the centers maybe are not getting the message.
No, but I mean, that's the thing, is going through these ggCircuit minute videos that I do, I look through every prize each week, because I look for the largest redemptions. And I think I saw about 4 or 5 redemptions from last week. So, the word is getting out. Those initial 10 keys are almost gone.
Yeah. I mean, it just we need to be able to. And again, we priced them at 10,000 coins, which
Right.
originally I thought that might be a barrier. But then I watched the prize vault transaction log, and a lot of the centers out there are redeeming 4 hours of game time for 10,000 coins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which again, you know, every center can set their own local economy, their own local pricing. So I think that's great. You know, and again, if players are willing to come in and spend 10,000 coins on 3 hours of gaming, I cannot believe that if the players know about this, they wouldn't be jumping on this, because this is a full Steam game of Moving Hazard. It's a great game. It's getting great reviews. It's very exciting. It's a full release. I mean, it's the early release, but it gives you the full copy of the game. You get a code and you add it to your own personal Steam account. You own the game forever. You know, what a great opportunity. And then we've got some cool things coming from the same company for the centers to be able to provide some license keys for all the centers to offer the game in their stores as well, as part of our exciting May technology advancements in other areas. Gray, vague description. Woohoo!
Yeah, it's almost like you just have this little lock and key chastity belt. You can't let anything out. But
Can't.
You're just so excited. You want to shout from rooftops.
I just can't wait to shout it. All right, let's what else you got? Want to do a quick tip of the week? Close up here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just a quick tip of the week. I'm always on my staff about this, and I think this is pretty important for everybody. I think every one of these video game centers around the world, I don't care where you're at or what your primary business is, if you've got gamers coming into your store to play, they're going to be there for a long period of time. You've got to have a good drink and snack selection. It's not hard to do. It's not expensive to do. You know, most of the stuff, especially some of these drinks and things, have long expiration dates. Obviously, you can't put 10 different types of fresh made cookies into your snack bar, but you can definitely put a lot of different energy drinks, a lot of different sodas, a lot of different flavored waters, whatever it is. Just have a good drink and snack selection, because I've seen this over and over and over in 11 years of business. Anytime we get new stuff in, they're hot, people buy a lot of them. The gamers are there for long periods of time. They get snacky, they want to drink. You've got to have a good drink and snack selection in your store. So don't just have Snicker bars and Reese cups and Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Go out there and get a lot of different stuff. And while it may not move that quickly, as long as it moves before the born on date or the expiration date or whatever's on the bottom of it requires you to sell it, that should be your metric. So even selling one a week or two a week, you have no idea, but that might keep that one customer happy. Because they're strictly a Diet Coke drinker, they're strictly a Diet Pepsi drinker, or they're a big fan of Yoo-Hoo chocolate milk drinks, or whatever it is that you've got. It's just got to be a nice big selection. Go to any convenience store in America, and there's not just one fridge of Pepsi at the front counter. I don't know here in the U.S. I mean, every gas station, every convenience store has 10, 15 glass fridges now full of drinks ready to take home with you, singles that you can buy. I mean, how many different flavors slushies do you need to be able to buy? It's kind of a joke now, but obviously they know. Like if you just have Coca-Cola slushies all the time, people get tired of it. So that's why they have 16 different flavors of slushies when you go there now. You got nothing?
Drinks.
That's because I'm Mr. Fitness. I work out all the time. I do my measurements. I watch my weight. I'm really not into slushies anymore, Zach, so I can't relate with that at all. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
how many different types of bulk up vitamins do you carry? That's what you should carry.
how much you bench?
What's your current squat rate? Come on now. Let's talk about something real. I can tell you right now, gamers don't care about what they're squatting, right?
But I'm from the working in that environment. People get mad if they don't have their regular drink, though, and some people aren't willing to.
Remember, private spam always had to have ice cold Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm. It had to be ice cold Coca-Cola, and it would be pissed if it wasn't ice cold, and it'd be pissed if really pissed if there was no Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Like that was like game over. Like he'd turn and walk out the store.
Yep.
Game over. No Coca-Cola in stock. You're done.
No. I can't say that. I shouldn't say that on the stream. Yeah. I mean, it just searching on eBay, watching somewhat questionable videos, and drinking his Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're just heads down. This time is good for us because we can finally just kind of look back and see the forest instead of being in the thick of the trees sometimes. So it's good to talk all this stuff out. So
Yeah, we got a big couple weeks ahead of us. Season by this time next week for our next show, we'll be knee deep in the first week of the season. We'll have WANdemonium in our belts. Be able to give some reviews on what happened with WANdemonium and somebody asked me this question, and we can kind of close on this, but our cycle now for our things is that we're going to try to have all kinds of weekend events going all the time, and those will be unique, and those will be from different sponsors and maybe different games. But WANdemonium in seasons, our intention is that there's 52 weeks in a year, so we would like to have 10-week seasons. And then we will have 3 weeks off in between those seasons. And during those 3 weeks, at the end of those 3 weeks, there'll always be a WANdemonium. So whether we tweak the rules for the seasons or the WANdemoniums and those sort of things, that's the schedule that we want to try to keep moving forward. So you can count on there being another WANdemonium 3 months from now, and another season will start 3 months after this season starts. And our goal is to go to sponsors and go to game publishers and developers and have new games and new objectives and new prizes for each of these events. These are going to become kind of our standard events that we have all the time. So, don't worry about what's coming up in the future. Those things are always going to be coming up. And then again, we'll mix in there with fun weekend events like the nVidia event we just did last weekend in Peru along the way.
Yep. Awesome,
Julio,
dude.
my boy.
See you later.
See ya.